Oh, good. We're live.
Awesome.
I'll let you know when it's on YouTube.
Thank you.
We're good.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty, so we're sorry with YouTube, but pursuant to Executive Order Number 20-05 issued by the Governor of the State of Rhode Island, this meeting will be conducted by electronic communication only. Members of the public wishing to access this meeting may do so at https://youtube.be/VL0VTCKFQI. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And we can start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. To get a vote going to go into closed session for discussion and or action regarding those items of business exempt from open meetings under general laws of Rhode Island, RIGL 42-46-5, A1, A2, A4, A8, A9.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We're going to
I can't hear anybody.
I don't hear anybody either.
I don't
Karen's
hear
muted.
anybody.
Sorry, I went to get water. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There were no votes taken in executive session. We'll now move on to public comment. Kathy Bonet,
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have about 13, 14.
if you need help reading,
That
just
would been too bad tonight.
let us know.
Our first one is from Jamie Freitas. I am writing in regards to 4.5-day in-person for elementary. First, as a parent, half-day pickup from school is an impossibility for many. It's hard enough with limited daycare options to get pickup at a regular dismissal time. But if you are not working from home or do not have family members who do not work during the day, then an 11 a.m. pickup and afternoon daycare isn't an option for you. Secondly, we have had so many changes for our students, but Monday DL has been the constant. Expectations are clear, and it gives all students the time to work at their own pace on independent work. For a teacher, a Monday is for reviewing data collection to drive instruction, teacher collaboration, planning and modifying of plans, and most importantly, one-on-one or small group time with the DL students and families. Yet another change to our schedule gives those families even less access to their child's teacher without distractions. Finally, Monday is supposed to be for deep cleaning. Even if every adult in a school is vaccinated, the children will not be. The reason schools have not had huge breakouts of COVID is because we are following strict cleaning protocols. Why would we risk changing that now? Please vote no to any in-person school on Monday and keep our schools safe. My next comment is from Amanda Brown. As a dedicated special education teacher in Warwick, I am writing to you in hopes that you will take one moment to hear my voice. I honestly spend the majority of my time outside of school wondering how I will fulfill my job requirements, not only to the best of my ability, but to ensure I maintain compliance. As you know, I am legally required to develop, implement, and monitor each student's individual education plan, which requires measuring their progress and their needs. Some students are fully DL, and I haven't seen them once this year in person. I'm not there to make them sign on or see confused faces, restate a concept in class. And I can't reteach anything unless they attend my 45-minute department night or a scheduled one-on-one meet that I provide weekly on Mondays. Teaching in person and department nights are imperative to the success of our special education students. Brief classroom pullouts after school, during my office period, and during my free period. Even then, there were not enough hours in the day. Now, the recent discussion regarding a 5-day schedule is frightening to me, and I believe it is to be true for many other educators. With no office hours and 5 classes of hybrid students, Mondays are the only days I have to service my special education caseload students. Without Mondays to do this work, I respectfully request that you guide me in how I can accomplish my job's main purpose as a special education case manager and co-teacher. I understand that the pandemic has resulted in unprecedented circumstances and that your administration has had to face very difficult decisions. I do not envy your position and can only imagine how hard it must be. However, without keeping these resources available, I'm afraid our integrity, compliance, and the lives of our special education students will be impaired. Please know that I deeply appreciate your time, service, and consideration to this matter. The next comment is from Henry Whitford. At this point, we have come so far. Many of the things you said couldn't be done have been done, more so in other places to show that it can be done. Now it's time for Warwick to promptly return these children to school 5 days a week. You claimed you are essential to get your vaccinations. Essential workers go to work and continue to do their jobs no matter how dire the situation. We have taken the brunt without causing mass spread. Teachers and the high risk have had their chances to sign up and get vaccinated. Even one shot provides 80% effectiveness. It's time to stop fighting and do what we should have started September 15th. 5 days across the board. It's time to get it done. This is from Team Ocean Tides at Windman Middle School. Dear school committee members, As a team, we'd like to discuss the spring schedule. We understand that some want full in-person and some want the hybrid. We feel that full in-person Tuesday through Friday with proper precautions and keeping Monday as is may be the best solution. Some benefits of keeping Mondays virtual are students are able to attend department night and get support in a small group setting or even one-to-one. Students are able to communicate with us via email and get additional real-time support one-on-one. Students have expressed this has been helpful. Our students have been utilizing their organizational and executive functioning skills by completing the Monday checklist. We are able to spend more quality time on 504 and IEP meetings since we are able to hold them on Mondays. This gives us meaningful time to discuss student needs. We are able to have more common planning time and professional development, which is essential for us to create engaging and meaningful lessons for both our in-person learners and our virtual learners. We are able to provide a higher quantity and quality of descriptive feedback on assignments, which is vital for students' progress and growth. Thank you for your time, Team Ocean Tides. This next comment is from Heather Silva. Hello, I am writing to share some thoughts that I am not sure have been considered when discussing sending students to school on Mondays at the secondary level. This day has been given to the students as department night. I feel having department nights on Mondays is fair and equitable for all students. All students are accessing this support from home. Whatever the reason, the distance learning students are not in the building, they are given the same chances for the supports for utilizing department night. If you change it to after school, then families need to again change their schedules to pick up their children from school at different times since there won't be any link buses. Another, please take this into consideration when deciding if secondary schools should be in person on Mondays. Thank you. This is from Sarah Evans. My name is Sarah Evans and I teach at Tollgate. The proposal to return to a 5-day-a-week full in-person schedule at the secondary level proves problematic for two important reasons. First, with the district not providing transportation for secondary schools, if we move to 5 days full in-person, the gap between those who are privileged to have a ride and get into school and those who are stuck home due to the lack of district transportation will widen even further. I myself have many students who would have been in school as hybrid learners since January had there been busing. And please don't rebuke that with the offer of RIPTA. You know as well as I do that many parents are not comfortable putting their children on the public buses and they deserve school buses like other Rhode Island children. Finally, why doesn't Warwick notify its families about COVID cases in the school? It seems as though the pandemic has melted away. It makes no sense for the district to take away Monday as a deep cleaning day and put teachers and students in the building instead, while reports of COVID cases for kids aged 10 to 18 are on the rise. In Cranston, my own children's school notify via email when there is a COVID positive case in the school, so parents can make an educated decision about their child's safety in school. Warwick has chosen not to do this. Why? This leads families to falsely think that no one is still getting sick. So why shouldn't all the kids return to school 5 days a week? It is irresponsible. We have only 10 weeks left. More changes means more COVID cases and more students falling behind at home. That is not how Warwick should end this impossible school year. This comment is from Darlene Necco. The administration previously presented the reasons that schools should remain virtual on Mondays. As I have indicated to you in multiple highly detailed emails, there will be too much chaos, commotion, and angst for a few Mondays. Education is already occurring on Mondays. There is no need to change the schedule now. Elementary teachers are using Mondays for holding morning meetings with their classes, meeting with small groups of students, meeting with parents, planning lessons for both in-person and virtual students, assessing student work, uploading items to Google Classroom, Aspen, and various other platforms, and performing myriad other educational tasks. Special education teachers, math interventionists, reading specialists, school psychologists, social workers, occupational and physical therapists, and other support professionals provide services to students. Without Mondays, students with IEPs will not get their service hours, as Dr. Connolly previously explained to you. Secondary populations are too large for full in-person learning. Even if the CDC reduces social distancing guidelines and school personnel may have been vaccinated, remember the students have not been vaccinated and there are many windowless classrooms. On Monday, secondary teachers hold department nights, which cannot happen after school. Upload assignments into Google Classroom, update Aspen, and employ various platforms for virtual instruction. As at the elementary level, special education teachers and support professionals provide their services on Mondays. One of the most important reasons to leave Mondays alone is that the secondary students rely on Mondays to complete their work. Whether they are attending school in person in the hybrid model or entirely DL, the students are overwhelmed with their daily schedules. All students at the secondary level are basically online all day, every day, because in-person students are still doing their work electronically and may need to log into a Google Meet to join the at-home virtual students. Secondary students need the Mondays to have some downtime from computers before they go back online to complete their assignments. There is no reason to disrupt them and further overwhelm them for a few in-person Mondays. Please leave Mondays alone. This is from Shirley Yazidian. I am writing to you in opposition to Dr. Thornton's proposal of a 4 1/2 day schedule for elementary schools. As I am sure you are aware, Mondays have become indispensable opportunities for teachers and staff to accomplish many tasks that the simultaneous teaching of both distance and in-person learners requires. This includes, but is not limited to, meeting with small groups for reinforcement and revision, increased availability to distance learners, collaborating across grade level and grade span, planning for lessons that accommodate both in-person students and distance learners, having make-up time for lost contractual planning periods that are the result of an inadequate and inequitable itinerant schedule, and creating effective digital and print lessons using multiple resources, and attending professional development at the state, district, and building level. Adding a half day of in-person learning to the school schedule essentially detracts from the quality of the education that we are able to provide when Mondays are available to attend to all the aforementioned tasks. Furthermore, Mondays have played a key role in keeping our schools safe and healthy through deep cleaning tasks and other required maintenance that cannot be adequately and safely completed when students are staffed in the same building. With increased students and staff occupying the school building Tuesdays through Fridays, safety protocols are more critical than ever. Please vote no for in-person school on Monday so that we can keep our students and staff safe. Thank you for your consideration in this matter. This comment is from Mina Atwood. Good evening. I feel now that most of the teachers have received their vaccine. There is no reason why our kids can't return to a full school week. Just by having my daughters go twice a week, I have seen a huge improvement in their grades and their moods. It is time to let the kids that want to return to school go. They need the interaction with their teachers and their peers, after-school sports and activities that happen at the school. Anyone 16 and older can receive the vaccine, so there really is no reason to not let them back. If a family chooses to keep their child home, that's their choice, but we should also have a choice to send them back. My youngest daughter has suffered enough. These kids need to be back in school. Thank you. This is from Christine Ray. I am writing to express my concerns regarding Dr. Thornton's proposal to change the Monday distance learning day to a half day of in-person learning for elementary schools. There are several factors to consider before deciding whether or not to implement this change. First and foremost should be the safety of students and faculty. The deep cleaning that is performed on Mondays has proven to be extremely effective in limiting the spread of the virus. I worry that decreasing the amount of time scheduled to complete this essential cleaning will ultimately decrease its effectiveness. Another issue to consider is the disruption to families and students. With 8 weeks of school left, they will now need to arrange for transportation and most likely childcare to accommodate this schedule change. What will be gained in these 8 3-hour days? We will hardly gain any quality instruction time with mask and lab breaks and serving breakfast and lunch. In fact, many students will lose out. I currently use Mondays to meet with distance learners in small groups to provide some much needed individualized instruction and assessment. We also use this time to work on research as we do not have access to devices in school. Finally, you must consider the inequity changing this plan has on teachers' contracted planning time. At the start of the school year, we were presented with a less than ideal plan for providing itinerant classes. This left teachers with significant gaps in planning that continued throughout each trimester. We were informed that Mondays would compensate for this. The superintendent's proposal will disregard this arrangement. Not only will we lose planning time, many of us will now have to plan on our own time, as our last planning period is on a Wednesday. Some teachers may have no planning blocks at all for this trimester. How will you compensate them for this? Please take the time to review the many concerns the union members have brought before you and consider the costs of your decision. This is from Jennifer Goff. Dear Warwick Public Schools School Committee, I am writing to you to please put action on bringing back elementary and secondary schools full 5 days a week for the remainder of the school year. The COVID numbers are down, the vaccines have been offered and implemented, masks are mandatory, and hand sanitizer is a staple in every part of the school building. This fight for WPS parents has gone on far too long, and to be quite honest, our kids should have had the option to go back full-time in September, like so many other districts did. Please stop with the excuses and listen to the parents who are the taxpayers in this city who want their kids in school. My son recently received his second trimester report card, and it was a significant improvement from the first trimester when he was hybrid with about a total of 10 in-person days because of DL days, holidays, and the pause. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in facts, and the facts is that no matter how well a teacher instructs behind the screen, there is no comparison to in-person learning for our students of any age. Please vote yes on all students returning full-time as soon as possible, and let's turn our focus on getting these students the best instruction they can get and not live in fear anymore. This is from Sarah Neal. Please accept this public comment in support of bringing Warwick students back full-time or as close to full-time as possible, as the case may be. Every student deserves a full in-person schooling experience, but for elementary school in particular, Mondays have been a complete waste of a school day. After one meeting with their teachers, kids are left on their own for the rest of the day, assigned virtual work at best and busy work at worst, completed independently by children not mature enough to handle such assignments by themselves. Either way, kids are done with these worthless Monday assignments well before an in-person school day would be over. So truly, it's laughable that any of you consider that a school day to begin with, but once again, you have the opportunity to do the right thing and bring back these kids all 5 days. Also, a quick note about what's been rumored about the 4.5-day proposed schedule for elementary school kids. I still think you can figure out a way to bring back the kids for 5 days if you put in more effort than you're willing to give to this point. With that said, some in-person instruction on Mondays are better than the status quo. I'm willing to bet other parents feel the same way. So please do the right thing and send these kids back to school full-time. They deserve it, and after such a tough year, you owe it to them to give them the best education this city has to offer. Thank you for your consideration. And my last comment is from Peter Chavone. The Warwick School Committee has no skin in the game. 4 out of 5 members have no children in Warwick schools. Those 4 have no experience with monitoring a child who is distance learning. Yet these members determine whether your child should be in school 5 days per week. This gang of 4 have no worry about providing someone to watch their children when they are not in school. It does not mean you have to be hit by a bus to guess what it feels like. However, Warwick parents and students have been let down by school committee members who have no clue about what it is like to provide a normal 5-day school week for parents and students who deserve normalcy. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bonet. So we move on to new business. The first is discussion action, discipline hearing, classified employee. Dr. Thornton.
Madam Chair, I believe that's
I think you wanted to
Your
ask for a
consideration?
motion. Oh. Can I actually ask for a motion to table this?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, on to number 2, discussion action, virtual Warwick School Committee AV technician contract. Again, I'd ask for a motion to approve that.
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
Okay.
Second discussion, any discussion?
Any discussion?
Well, can we have a little from the superintendent?
He said he's all set.
We're all set?
Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Next, we have a presentation, discussion, and action on this very incredible program that's been brought to us. Well, it was brought to me by Pauline Pinto and Heather Wibig Sobazak, are both science teachers at Vets. And we have the two gentlemen that are running this program, James Corwin and Chris Radcliffe. They are here to talk to us, and we can later on discuss it and vote. I think this is an incredible program, and I look forward to hearing them speak again. So I'd like to introduce James Corwin and Chris Radcliffe.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much. And thank you for inviting us to the meeting. So Jim and I are the co-directors of the Rhode Island Schools Recycling Club. And the club was founded in 2001, and it was really a partnership between the Rhode Island DEM and Rhode Island Resource Recovery, which runs the state's landfill. And the goal behind it was to slow the rate of growth of the landfill. What most people don't know is that 13 years from now, the landfill in Johnston will be completely full. In 2019, we received a grant from the Rhode Island Attorney General's office from the Volkswagen emissions settlement. And basically what we were tasked with doing was studying the food waste coming out of schools in Rhode Island. And so we did food waste audits at 15 schools that were split up between elementary, middle, and high schools, and in urban, suburban, and rural areas. And basically, we had a team of people that went in, and instead of the students dumping their food waste in the trash, we took the trays from them and we segmented it into different piles, and we weighed everything. And then we took that data and we extrapolated it. And we wanted to come up with an estimate of how much food waste was being generated in Rhode Island schools annually. And so our estimate is that it's 5 million pounds of food waste that's coming out of our schools and being sent to the landfill every single year. We don't know, but based upon our analysis, we estimate that Warwick Vets, because it's a middle school and because of the number of students, that Warwick Vets generates about 250 pounds of food waste a day. So that food waste is, we call it from the front of the house. That means kids have food on their plate and they dump it in the trash. But if we take the 250 pounds a day and we multiply it times 180 school days, that's 45,000 pounds of food waste a year coming out of Warwick Vets. A lot of food. An interesting part of this is that we also estimate, based upon our research and our food waste audits, is that somewhere around 10,000 pounds of that 44,000 pounds of food waste is perfectly healthy, unopened, unused food. It's full milk cartons. It's yogurt. It's granola bars. It's apples. It's bananas. And so the program that Jim and I are working on is called Get Food Smart Rhode Island, and it's really a partnership between the Rhode Island Schools Recycling Club and the Rhode Island DEM, but it's funded through a grant from the U.S. EPA. About 2 weeks ago, a bill was passed in the House. And what the bill does is it mandates that most schools in Rhode Island will have to eventually divert their food waste away from the landfill. So our program is kind of like the lead program on this. It's really kind of the front end work to figure out how we come up with best practices so that when all schools have to divert food waste, that the schools that are part of this program are able to serve as an example to those schools around the state. And so we're working with 6 schools, and those schools are in Woonsocket, Smithfield, Newport, North Providence, Exeter, and hopefully Warwick Vets in Warwick. And so basically what we do is we provide technical support and we provide financial support to the school to get the program off the ground. There are 3 goals of Get Food Smart Rhode Island. The first one is to reduce food waste in the first place. The second is to divert plate waste, wasted food that's on a plate, away from the landfill. And then the third is to find a home for that unopened, unused, perfectly healthy food through the use of share tables. And so we are planning on working with the vets on 2 initiatives to start with. So working with the teachers, Pauline Pinto and Heather Widberg, and their project-based learning students, we want to address the 10,000 pounds of food that we think is perfectly healthy food, and work with them on a process to create share tables in the lunchroom, and create a process to collect that food from the students so they don't throw it in the trash. We'll provide some support for that. We'll provide a refrigerator for that, and then also work on a process to divert that either to families of students that are in need of Warwick vets that are in need, or to a Warwick-based food pantry. And then the second part of what we would like to do is work on reducing the amount of food waste. And so really we would be working with Aramark, with the students, with facilities, with the teachers. And there's really 2 parts of this. One is to communicate to students that they do not need to take milk at lunch. Most students, when they get hot lunch, they believe they're supposed to take milk, and many times the milk is handed to them. And so Aramark will be offering water to those students. The students in the project-based management class, they will also work on communication throughout the school to let kids know that you don't need to take milk. We think just by that we'll be able to reduce the amount of food waste significantly, because we've seen it in other schools that a lot of that weight that is in the barrels, it's unopened containers of milk. And then the second thing is hot lunch, is that most students don't know that when 5 selections are offered for hot lunch, students only need to take 3 of them, as long as one's a protein and one is a fruit or a vegetable. So we want to communicate that. And we think that will also have a dramatic impact on the reduction of food waste. And so I would just say that, I think it's an exciting program. I think it's a good opportunity for Warwick. Our job really is to work with you on best practices, and then to really hold you out as an example to the rest of the state we're going to be doing an event at the State House where we'll invite students and recognize them for the work that they're doing, and then take what the students and what the school has done, and then basically what we'll do is post that. It'll be shared on the Rhode Island DEM's website. It'll be shared on the Rhode Island Schools Recycling Club website, and that schools that want to do what the other schools are doing, that they can reach out to these schools and look to them for mentoring and advice. Jim, do you have anything that you want to add before we open it for questions? You're muted.
I would just point out that we were approached by the University of Rhode Island about 3 weeks ago, they are putting together a certified food literacy course that is designed to train people in food recovery, food waste, nutrition, a variety of different food elements. It's a 6-week online course, and they have asked us if some of our schools might be interested in taking that group of people who are in the cafeteria for lunch, everybody from parents to food service workers to custodians, and get them certified so that everybody can have a bigger stake and be knowledgeable about what we're trying to do in the cafeteria. And I believe we can raise money to pay a stipend to the hourly workers if they choose to take that course. I just want to add that, because these programs only work, if you've got all of the stakeholders at the school, including parents and teachers and administrators and facilities involved, and also if it's top of mind and there's continuous training. And so I just wanted to add that. I think it's a really excellent opportunity. I'm not saying we need to do it, but I believe we can raise the money to pay a stipend to those folks who are so important who work in the cafeteria.
Thank you very, very much, Jim and Chris. We're going to open this up for discussion. We have questions.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Cornell.
Yeah, so I think this is a great program. I'm glad it's environmentally friendly because so much food is wasted, like by either going to landfill and it's just, and that food could be utilized elsewhere. And also some food is biodegradable. So I think it's great that you're doing this program. I think we could ease the waste and we can actually do some good with it. And also I would like to thank you for presenting before the Health and Wellness Subcommittee last week. You did a great job there and we had a good discussion. So I'm all behind this program and I think we can do really great things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Okay, Mr. Adams?
So is this exclusive to vet, like the program is exclusive to vets middle school right now, or is it something that can expand to other schools later on?
We think it's going to have to expand later on, but this pilot program is only 6 schools statewide. And it's only the one school in Warwick, which is Warwick Vets right now.
Okay.
Although in some of the other districts, I mean, we've met with superintendents where they have said, we want to start doing this district-wide. I think it was in either North Providence or in Smithfield. And so they wanted to start the process of creating sorting stations in their cafeterias where kids will put the fruits and vegetables in one area and the proteins in another area. So it can be done, but there would be no funding from us to help facilitate it beyond Warwick Vets right now.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll just point out that we have recently completed a food waste reduction toolkit for Rhode Island schools that is filled with case studies from across the country and right here in Rhode Island on best practices for prevention, food recovery, and diversion. And that is being sent to every school in the state over the next 2 weeks. And I've already had about 12 schools download the toolkit. So there are plenty of easy to implement quick solutions that can be part of this whole food recovery program.
Yes, Mr. Baxter?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few questions and some, if I may, for Mr. Radcliffe. Mr. Radcliffe and I did meet with my team about rolling this program out. And while, I cannot, who's opposed to sending unneeded waste to the landfill, I've got some concerns. First off, this is not the program that was represented to us. The program that was represented to us was basically sorting stations where the children, the students sort out the stations. Students sort their waste based on recyclable, compostable, et cetera, and that the compostable waste would be taken away and sent to a compost facility. That no food products were being sent to be consumed by either students, in our school, in the cafeteria, or outward. And if that's the case, then I would ask that this club indemnify the district, as I've done some homework with other universities and things like that were engaged in charitable donations of their food. And I would be very uncomfortable with our waste going to be consumed without some sort of indemnification for the district. That's the first one. The second, again, this was again presented to me as a 1 or 2 sorting stations at the exits of the cafeteria. And would not involve our hourly employees, would not involve hourly employees of Aramark. And if it does, right, so we've got 3 core problems, as we've discussed. We've got a revenue problem, an expense problem, and an enrollment problem. And if this does not help our revenue or enrollment problem, and it aggravates our expense problem by causing additional labor, again, then I have an issue. And what was presented to me would not affect our expenses, would not increase our expenses, but the way it was described tonight, it gives me concern. As far as a pilot program, I think there's a couple of assumptions that we need to just clarify for the record. Taking of the milk is optional. It's already communicated at the middle school level. At the elementary school, taking the offering of the milk is mandatory per federal guidelines. And that's where we see this a significant amount of food waste. So while I applaud that, the effort, I think we want to make sure that we're setting our expectations appropriately and maybe focusing them, on a school where we could see a better return, so to speak. So those are my three concerns, and I'd ask if Mr. Corwin or Mr. Radcliffe, again, with your permission, Madam Chair, could address those three concerns.
Sure.
So I will say, when we met with facilities, it was my feeling from that meeting, and it was that we did not have the support of facilities. And then what happened after that was a number of teachers reached out to us and expressed a concern about recyclable material in Warwick Vets, that they were taking their own recyclable material home because, this is just what we were told anecdotally from teachers, is that the recyclables were being picked up at the end of the day by custodians and throwing it in the trash. And so one of the concerns was that perhaps what we do is go in and we focus on reducing, and we focus on the idea of the share tables, and then kind of see where that plays out. And if we can get that first part done, that perhaps when we come back, that there could be, when we get into 2022, perhaps there could be some diversion of the food waste at that point. I mean, we think that even just through the share table part of it, that is, and we're not talking about hamburgers with it. We're talking about milk that hasn't been opened. We're talking about granola bars that haven't been opened. We're talking about yogurt that hasn't been opened, and we're talking about bananas, and we're talking about apples. So I completely understand what you're saying about if it's prepared food, but this is food that has not been opened. But I would just say, I mean, that was my sense, is we always had a bit of pause about the size of the school, that it's a lot of work to do the food waste, the plate waste diversion, to do the reduction, and to do the share table. And we thought it would be best, based upon that meeting, to ease into it and see how it goes. Jim, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I can address Mr. Baxter's concern about food recovery and let him know that both the Department of Health and the Department of Education have recently released guidance that includes all of the laws and indemnification that schools are protected by for donating food to local food pantries or redistributing within the school community. So that's part of our project-based learning, is for students to understand about safe handling guidance for recovered food, and that we divert and we recover food for local pantries.
So would the recycling club be indemnifying Warwick Public Schools for downstream food consumption and anything that happens downstream?
There is an act called the Bill Emerson Act that specifically relates to this issue. And I can send you a copy of that, Mr. Baxter, after this call, so you can read it, and you can make a decision about whether you think you need further indemnification. But it is a common thinking that there are liabilities associated with making donations. And if you read this act, you will understand it was created just for this very thing.
So I do understand, and I'm somewhat familiar, but I also know that as a pragmatic and practical sense, food waste producers, such as, in terms of curriculum, such as the Johnson and Wales, have stopped donating their products exactly because of this. And regardless of, the regulatory or the legal environment, I still would like to have your program, provide some level of insurance and indemnification for the district. That'd be my,
Okay,
that'd be my deal.
I'm gonna interrupt.
Number two, do you have a plan?
Mr. Baxter,
Yes.
I'm gonna hold on a second.
Okay, thank you.
Aubrey would like to add something.
Rob, just since we're on the topic of indemnification and we're kind of veering over into legal here, I am familiar with this act, but I can look at, exactly what this program is and whether or not the act is applicable, and we can give some kind of an opinion to the committee to address any possible concerns.
Okay, thank you. And then do you have a written plan or a timeline for who's doing what to roll this program out? Again, I was my team and I were supportive of the sorting stations, and now it's sort of expanded and changed in scope, and so I'm a little concerned. Do you have a written timeline as to how this is supposed to go and who in the district would be responsible for it?
You want to take that, Jim?
We do have a written timeline, and phase one concerns the rest of this school year, and that the basic functioning of phase one is to get the processes built and in place with all the appropriate stakeholders in the schools, so that when we return in the fall, the Rhode Island Schools Recycling Club, along with the project-based team, I think it's the 6th or 7th graders, will conduct a food waste audit, we'll measure the food, and we'll kick the program off in the fall. And so, yeah, we have a timeline. We have, Pauline Pinto is our project-based teacher. We are going to be working with the 7th graders to teach them about this. As a matter of fact, we have an organization called the Center for Ecotechnology that is interested, having heard about Warwick's situation, in coming and doing an impact study, a cost impact study for you, Mr. Baxter, so you can understand exactly what costs will be involved in this long term, and also what savings will be realized over the course of the 2-year period.
I appreciate that, Mr. Corwin. Thank you. And then finally, what was the size of the grant that you've received, and how much of it will be used to roll out this pilot program? And will there be any recurring expenses after the grant is to be borne by the district after the grant is expired?
If we work with Warwick Vets and we do this cost impact study for you, you will understand all of those specifics. And I think, what was the first part of your question? I'm sorry, I didn't remember the first.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it was what was the size of the grant? And the grant has $10,000 allocated for the 6 schools that we are working with, and that's allocated to work on, probably to buy refrigeration if we need it in the schools. Each school has different needs, and so we go in and make an assessment of the school. In a sense, that's what we did with Warwick Vets. After the meeting with you, Chris decided, let's do the things that are not going to be as difficult as diverting the waste. You have a lot of waste at that school, and the first quote I got for carting your waste up to the anaerobic digester in Johnston was pretty considerable. So that's why I think it makes sense to have that cost impact statement done for you, so you can understand what's on the horizon. So I think it makes perfect sense to come in and work with the food service workers, the custodians, and all of the folks who are in the cafeteria to work on prevention strategies, and also to work on recovering food in a safe way and either redistributing it to the school community or to the community in Warwick. As you know, food insecurity in this pandemic has made it so that 1 in 4 families is currently food insecure in the state. Okay, thank you, guys.
A question from the school committee members?
Yes, Madam
Okay,
Chair.
thank you, Mr. Testa.
Thank you. Mr. Corwin and Mr. Radcliffe, thank you. I happen to work in the food service industry, and that's been my career for 35 years. So right now, I understand the intention behind the program. It's very well intended. Right now, I think I'm being asked to pass the bill and then I'll see what's in it. Because I need to know the logistics of this. Because we're asking 12 and 13-year-old kids to start to sort stuff. And I think logistics is a concern for me. Scale is a concern for me because Vets is a very large school. I'm not sure the size of the other schools that you're piloting in. I don't know if they're 1,000 student schools. And the whole crux on this program is training. If the training is not adequate and then the sorting doesn't go as well, what I need to know is, okay, when it's sorted, who checks the sort? Because if stuff isn't sorted properly and it's going to go to wherever it's going to go, if it gets to the landfill and it's questionable, you know what will end up in the landfill. And I think Mr. Radcliffe started by saying the landfill will be full in 2030, whatever it was. Those of us who've been around a long time remember when it was going to be full before then, and then they just ended up buying the surrounding properties and expanding the landfill. So I understand the intention behind it. I support the intention behind the program. To me, it's logistics. I do share the similar concerns with Mr. Baxter about what kind of work does this do for our staff, for our custodial staff. When it gets to the point of food waste presents sanitation potential issues. So all of those things, all the nuts and bolts, even in the beginning, I need to see what that's going to look like before I'm willing to sign on to this. So those are my concerns. It is, you can go to any restaurant in the state, they're not sorting their stuff. That's the dirty little secret. Go to a restaurant in the city of Boston, they don't separate their waste out. But schools generate a lot of waste, I understand that. And anything to reduce waste, to recycle, to compost, if that's even possible. I support all of those measures. I practice them at my own home. So, but when I look at something like this, I get worried about Mr. Baxter's concerns. At some point, we could run this and may succeed, and then all of a sudden, the funding stream, whatever it is, falls on the district, and that is a longer term concern for me. So I would like to see a little more specifics as to how this thing really works before I would entertain myself to vote for it. But I thank you for the presentation. I'd like to have something to hold and read with something like this, because I think what you presented was good. It was more esoteric than the material for me. So I just need a little more convincing, I think.
Anyone else?
Madam Chair,
Yeah, Mr. Adams.
I just want to know if there was like any further in depth or specifics that could be gotten into, like to kind of address what Mr. Testa said.
Yes, there is, for example, I mentioned earlier, we are just launching a food waste reduction toolkit for Rhode Island schools. And so I can send a copy of that to anybody on this call who would like to review that. And if you would like to review our phase 1, which is our plan between now and the end of the school year, I'd be happy to send that as well. And then continue the conversation if you have any further questions.
Madam Chair, can you send that to the committee?
Yes,
Yeah.
could you send that to the committee? I can be in contact with you tomorrow and send you everyone's email, or you can send it to me and I can get it forwarded to everybody.
Sure, sounds good.
I think I've been in numerous meetings with Jim and some with Chris, and also with the teachers. And I think a large part of this is teaching kids, and that aspect I think is important, because I think it's something that they will learn at school and hopefully take home into the community. So I'm waiting for this. We had them speak at the Health and Wellness Committee. We had a lot of kids turn out. The kids are excited about it. They're interested in it. They want to be involved in it. And they're using it as, like they said, a program. And the teachers really, Pauline Pinto and Heather were just amazing. I've had several meetings with them also. So I'm obviously for all the food waste, but I'm also about the aspect of the children at that age learning about this topic. And hopefully taking it home. I mean, that's the process, so
Madam Chair.
I'm all for it. Yes,
So this is something that would be implemented for the coming school year, right? 21-22.
yeah,
Correct.
All right. So then, like, is it necessarily something that we can decide on that we need to decide on tonight? Like, if we get that stuff, the email from Mr. Corwin, and we get kind of like a little bit more in depth where we can kind of address those costs that can come into effect. Then obviously, like the budget coming up and whatnot, and we can make that decision later on.
yes, we can do that. We don't have to take the vote tonight. We can get the material and then we probably can even get it on the agenda for next week.
Yeah, I would like to get the material first and be able to
Right,
read it
right.
and understand it, and then,
Does
yeah,
that sound
we
good
all
to
get it,
everyone?
then maybe not necessarily next week's meeting, but if you reach out to us, Madam Chair, and find out if it's next week or the week after.
Okay,
So, you just need
Okay.
a little time to read it and understand what it is
That's
we've been
fine.
getting ourselves into.
that's fine. Anyone else? I want to thank you, Jim and Chris, for joining us, and we'll be in touch tomorrow, and if you could send those packets out, that would be fantastic.
Do you want to ask for a motion to table?
Yeah, can I have a motion to table this?
Motion to table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, thank you as
Thank you.
well. We'll be in touch shortly.
Thank you. Okay, on to the next, discussion action, elementary school spring schedule. Ms. Diambro.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the school committee, Dr. Thornton. For the elementary spring schedule, I am recommending that we stay with the 4-day-a-week schedule with the expectation that teachers do have 2 Google Meets with their students so they can connect with the students on Mondays. Some of the things that I took into consideration is that we've had so many schedule changes due to the pandemic, and everyone has been so flexible with the changes. But there are 8 Mondays left, and I received some emails from parents who sent their schools back from distance learning and have jobs now and don't know how they come to a school at 11 or 11:30 in the middle of the day to pick up their children. We also still have the issue of making up itinerant time for the teachers that didn't receive enough itinerant times according to the contract of 225 minutes. So it's also important to save Monday for professional development. We have done an enormous amount of professional development. I'd like to thank Wendy and her team, for organizing all the district professional development. But we would not have professional development if it wasn't for the Monday timeframe that we put aside for professional development. And I feel like in these challenging times, we're asking teachers to do things they've never done before. They're working so hard. The professional development really has supported them. It's valued, very valued. I also think that teachers need to plan and collaborate on Mondays as well. That's a valuable time for them. And we also have service providers and teachers who are working with students who are struggling and need some interventions. We have speech pathologists, social workers, psychologists reaching out to families during Mondays to support them as well. So there's many reasons why I believe that this is the way to finish the year. And I will answer any questions.
Questions? Ms. Bacchus?
Say that I'm in complete agreement with you. Director.
We can't
She
hear
said
you.
she's in complete agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Muffled. Anyone else?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Adams went first.
Go ahead, Mr. Adams.
Just I guess clarification for the Monday meets, like just is there what's entailed, I guess, like what are the requirements for those meets to happen?
So, Mr. Adams, currently the teachers are doing a morning meeting. So they touch base with their students as part of our responsive classroom program. So they'll touch base with the students, maybe go over the expectations of their work for the day. And other teachers are having a closing of the day meeting. Some teachers are doing 3 or 4 meets, but I just think to touch base with the students, 2 times, it's not a long meet. It's just to make a connection with the students to see if they need any support while they're doing their anytime learning.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes, Mr.
Thank
Tucker.
you. Thank you, Ms. Danver. I think I said at the last meeting, or one of the last meetings we discussed this, that there's no bigger proponent of 5 days a week than me. I'll take the backseat to no one saying we should be in 5 days a week. Having said that, we kind of pretty well documented out how we structured Mondays at the beginning of the year. Not every district structured them the same way, structured them our way. And then by the time we went back and forth, and I do disagree with those who say other districts were in since September, or we should have been into September. We've had that discussion. We plowed that field already. There's no sense to replow it. Okay, but it's the itinerant teachers. You can't just tip that upside down and say, okay, we'll just make it all up in the last 8 Mondays. And I think it's 8 weeks, but it's one of those Mondays, Memorial Day.
Yeah.
So it's really 7 days, right? 7 half days. Okay. So there's itinerants that I'm very concerned about. There's delivering of IEP service hours that I'm very concerned about. Common planning time, which is contractually obligated, that I'm concerned about. My bigger concern is for parents. Parents have, as a parent who had to go through this occasionally when my kids were little in the elementary grade, once you get a system set up where, okay, on Mondays, I've got my mother-in-law, they're going to another program. They struggled to get that set up this year because everybody was in the same boat. So now they're in that boat, and here we are, we're going to say, no, we're going to send your child for a half day. Talk about further instruction parents. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't think, and I said this in a couple of emails, I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze here. I really don't. But the biggest thing for me is the professional development. So I'm going to ask, how many, I guess we judge that by hours. How many hours of professional development have we been able to do this year? Versus
So-
what's a typical school year for professional development?
Right. But speaking at the district level, because they're also school level professional development, for elementary, we have done 500 hours of professional development this year, which is a 70% increase over previous years.
Right, and that's from the benefit of the way we structure Mondays, right?
Correct.
That's,
And at
whether it
this,
was intentional in design or just I think it was intentional in design. Right?
correct.
Okay, I'll interrupt you.
And also at secondary level, we had 192 district professional development opportunities, which is a 45% increase over previous year.
And we still have some more of that slated for the rest of the year.
We do. We
right?
have
So
PD schedules through June.
right, so PD is a recurring issue in this district and has been for as long as I've been around, and I've been around a long time. And so to me, the value of the PD outweighs the 3.5 hours for 7 days, plus the inconvenience to parents, not to mention the inconvenience to teachers who have to reschedule everything, and the specialists too. So I just don't see it. I think keeping elementary 4 days in full has worked since we started it, and it's going well. And I think keeping Mondays the way they are, I think makes sense to me. As much as, like I said, I'd love to be in 5 days. I just don't see it. I don't see what the benefit. Here we are sitting in April 6th. We're due to start this proposed week started in after vacation. So it just doesn't seem to be worth it to me.
Yes, and Madam Chair, also, if I can say that we do have new programs in the district, like GEMSNet, our new math program, iReady. So we are supporting teachers and teaching these new programs, but not only teaching these new programs, but teaching these new programs in this new way of teaching virtually plus with the students in front of them. And also how to pace, we have the 4 days, we have mass breaks, we have bathroom breaks, so we don't have the amount of time that we would in a typical year, a typical day. So I believe it's very important for the professional development for that reason as well. I believe Ms. Amelot wants to say something.
I also wanted to thank you, Mrs. Amber. I just wanted to add, yes, professional learning has been a forefront for us this year. It's really important for me, for teachers to really have a say in their professional development, but also really understand the new programs and not just be handed curriculum. But our schools are not empty on Mondays. I just want to make sure we know that we have this past Monday, we welcomed in many of our distance learners for state assessments, both at the middle school and elementary school level. And that will continue. So Mr. Tester, you said 7 more Mondays in that calendar. That will continue for 3 of those 7 Mondays, 2 for math assessments and 1 for the next generation science assessments. We've created safe spaces for our K-8 students to be assessed.
So that would even further hamper the ability of the secondary level to use those buildings, right?
Yes, so for the right testing, the parents with the distance learning students feel more comfortable having them come in a day where other students aren't there. So we were able to, the RIDE expects us to reach out to these families and have these students take the RIDECast and the next generation science exam. We found a way to make parents feel more comfortable sending their students to school to take this assessment.
Okay.
And I just want to say thank you to all the families who made an effort at our middle schools to bring their students in on Monday, because we have 800 distance learners and we had almost 600 students show up on Monday to participate in state assessments. Not quite that many, but so a real effort, and it shows their commitment to Warwick Public Schools and that they are involved in education, just don't feel or can't participate in coming to school daily without either transportation or for safety reasons of COVID in their own families.
Anyone else?
I think Mr. Testa hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Costa. I also am glad to hear about the PD. That's excellent news. That's something we wanted to achieve for a long time, and we're like totally achieving it. So that's very positive for our teachers and teaching, especially as you said, they're doing teaching in a new kind of way, and I know it's really tough on them, and we appreciate them trying to put their hard work into it. But I can't see it. I got plenty of letters from parents saying that a half a day, they don't know how they would work it out. And I do know, regardless if I have a child or not, what childcare and how it works. And I have plenty of friends with children that I'm close with, and I know if we start changing their schedule up, many of them could lose their slots at daycares and whatnot. So I agree for the 7 Mondays, it's too disruptive, and everybody, mainly the kids, have been very disrupted as it is, and it seems like our schedule is working as best as it can. We all want our kids back 100%, and I'm hoping when September starts, it goes back to something more functional than trying to figure out every 6 weeks on what we should do next. So hopefully we'll all be in. So
Madam Chair,
do we need to take a vote on this?
looking for a motion to
Yeah.
continue the current schedule for the balance of the school year.
Yeah, that's essentially, we're just keeping elementary running the way it
so
always
do
has.
I have a David, would you like to?
Yes,
make a motion?
I make a motion that we continue elementary running the way we have been running it, 4 days in full.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next is discussion action, secondary school spring schedule, Mr. McCaffrey.
Madam Chair, members of the school committee, based upon the current attendance at the secondary level and the current guidelines, I'm recommending a 4-day full return for secondary students, preserving Mondays for department nights, AP coursework, IEPT meetings that have been scheduled. Please note at the high school level, we have approximately 394 students that have IEPs and require service time on the Mondays. Also reserving Mondays for the teacher evaluation process for our faculty members. Are there any questions concerning a 4-day return for secondary?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Cornell.
Yeah, so I've been waiting to hold my comments until I heard both proposals because to be honest, I didn't know what to expect. I thought it could have been, I thought there was going to be a recommendation for 4.5 days. So I'm very glad that you're going with a realistic proposal, you and Ms. Stanbrook, with the 4-day in person. It's realistic. And actually, about a month ago, I was like more favoring like full day in person, but then I got emails from parents, teachers, and students saying they made it very clear that it's just not logistically possible right now to do that. So I think this is a reasonable explanation. But however, I do want to say an email was sent out by a superintendent for March saying that like the school committee was going to vote for 4.5 days in person. I think that was completely irresponsible. The school committee didn't know about it, and it just, I think, deceived the community because we did not take that vote in March, and we're not taking that vote now. So I would ask the superintendent to not send something out like that in the future, which puts the school committee and the community in a very difficult situation. Thank you.
Dr. Thornton.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'll have to look back and see what we send out. We send out numerous emails to the community. If memory serves, we sent out an email to let folks know what we're looking at. We look at all the variables. Never an intention to put the committee in a bad spot, but you have to know where to start from, Mr. Cornell.
Madam Chair, if I may, I also say that last public meeting we had, and Dr. Thornton was talking about possibilities, he threw that out as a possibility. Because I was sitting right here, and he didn't say we would go back 4.5 days, and I believe that email, and I'll retrieve it, but I believe it did say that one of the things that could be discussed or was going to be discussed, but the email did not say this was the plan. If someone interpreted it that way, okay, then we have to, 100 people read 100 different interpretations, but I did see some of those, and people were saying it was so-and-so's plan to go 4.5. It wasn't. It was one of the options. Just like full 5 days was an option. So I don't share the same concern because I don't think that it's that valid. So.
Well, I'm going to speak, and I'm going to say that I did receive numerous emails from parents, and they sent me that Connect Ed, and it did kind of read like, and it said in March. So when it didn't appear in March, I had a lot of people getting very cross at me why it was not on the agenda. So I think we do need to be a little bit more careful as to what we put out, because it's a very touchy environment right now. And we have people wanting all different things, and it makes it even more complicated whether someone read it wrong or not. It could be read in that way. And I think we need to be a little bit more careful on what we send out.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Adams.
I do have a question for Mr. McCaffrey, but just on the subject, I was able to pull it up, and I just wanted to just put it out there. It just says we will have a special school committee meeting later this month to discuss and make decisions on the spring school schedules and update on any changes to state guidance of school operations as it relates to COVID-19. So I understand both sides that it might have been, but just to put it out there so everyone knows what it was and doesn't have to dig themselves. But my question for Mr. McCaffrey is because you had prefaced it with based on the schedule now. Now, if we do make that decision that we do go back in full, like obviously we know we have some concerns with Tollgate with like some of those windowless classrooms. One, I want to make sure that those are okay. But my other question would be in terms of those based on the preface of based on attendance, what if we end up exceeding that attendance? Like we go back to 4 days in full and we exceed it. Like what's the procedure that we take for those classrooms that exceed the what is it, 20, 17?
It would be 17 students and 2 adults. Yep. But currently, based on what we're trending, we're not even close. I mean, we're looking at 300 students a day coming into the high schools, and if we double that, we're at 600. So that means we'd be running at about 50 about 50% at Pilgrim. So we're not even close at this point with our current attendance, and we could easily accommodate it.
Okay. And then what about those classrooms that are windowless, that are closed off? They won't be any concern?
It was my understanding that Mr. Gothberg, when he did the calculations for the filtration systems, that he put the appropriate number of units in the rooms to accommodate the air exchanges within the room. He is present this evening. He could possibly speak to those air exchanges since he's the expert in the area.
What we did in those rooms was we either put, depending on the size of the rooms, we either put 3 or 4 purifiers in those rooms. So the air exchange is good enough for the amount of students and staff that are going to be in those rooms.
Okay. And then the only other area would be cafeteria and lunch. How is that going to be handled?
Sure. Based upon the current guidance, we have we don't have to maintain the 6-foot distancing like we previously had. We also have the ability to open up the courtyard at Pilgrim and offer outside dining at Tollgate. The weather is on our side at this point, where in the winter, the weather had not been on our side. So I think we're in very good shape.
Okay. Thank you.
Dr. Thorne?
Just a few thoughts first to give some more flavor to Mr. McCaffrey's numbers of 300 something in a building. You can walk around our high school on any day. You'll see, around 5 students in a room. That's what you're seeing typically. So we can certainly go back, we believe, and be well under that number. So that shouldn't be a problem. And just going back to the first comment about the communications, I'm glad Mr. Adams did read that. To me, that was a pretty benign communication. But if the chair and vice chair are uncomfortable with our communications, they can approve all future communications going out. That'd be fine with me.
Actually, that wouldn't be a bad idea. I think the whole school committee should be privy to that. Because
I agree. I think that's a good suggestion. I think we should do that.
I think that would be a good process. Because then we all know what's going on, because we don't always get I know I don't always get the connections. I get some of them, but I don't get all of them. So that would be great. I would like to so there's only like you're saying, 300 kids in the school, and we're gonna put a lot more. What happens if we just open the doors and all these people show up? How are we gonna handle the overload? Should we do a survey between now and, like, a quick survey to find out how many kids would actually be attending before we have this overflow of students?
To me, I think a couple of things. First, the survey, we've done a lot of surveys this year. Surveys take time. And also surveys aren't really revealing what's coming in the door. Our last survey said we'd have many more students at the high school level. They didn't come. Our numbers are so low right now. You can walk Pilgrim tomorrow and see very, very low numbers. I would be very surprised, and I think Bill would probably echo this. We are not going to see an overrun of the high schools at this point.
Okay, well,
Madam Chair?
I'm not done, Mr.
Oh,
Adams.
sorry.
The other issue I have, and it was brought up in public comment, is not letting parents or the community know about COVID numbers. I watch them. I get them from Mrs. Manchester, and I've been paying all attention to them, and they're not. And I do get a lot of people asking me why they're not receiving them, because other districts are receiving them. I think we should, and I think parents that are gonna send their kids to high school, they should know that the numbers are up right now. And I'm not trying to put people off from going, but it is something that should be exposed to them. I mean, you're saying there's what, 300 kids? But I also see that both in Pilgrim and Tollgate, we have 7 kids tested positive, and 15 and 28 kids, 15 in Pilgrim and 28 in Tollgate are being quarantined. And those numbers are much higher than what they were even around the time after Christmas. So I do think we need to I think some parents really would like to know that.
Yep.
And I'm not saying this to put people off. I know that people are asking me this because they want to know before they make a decision.
We have and continue to publish those numbers on our website. They've been there the whole time.
But the people are reading them to me and it's not what I'm receiving from HR.
I believe that the RIDE data may be a week behind. The data that I'm giving you is what the nurses are reporting to me as a snapshot of.
Right. Well, I think somehow, maybe that should go out in the Connect Ed or something, because I think that is important. I think some parents that have contacted me personally have been concerned about that. I am also concerned about kids that want to go the full time, and we don't have transportation, so that's another issue. I'm writing messages as I sit here, so. Mr. Adams?
I just wanted to because I kind of missed getting the answer on it, is just in terms of the if factor, if there is an overflow of a classroom, what we do there, like if for whatever reason more kids did end up deciding to come back, which is actually a second part of a question which I'll ask after we get here.
At that point, we readjust our plan.
Okay. And then the second part is just in terms of previously we had surveys that said that was like, are you coming back? Are you not? So on and so forth. And we have we've had those answers forever now. Now considering considering it goes forward, we do full 4-day in person. Are those people who said that they were staying home, are they still locked in?
Obviously, if a student wants to come to school, we'll accommodate them unless we exceed a safe environment, which I don't think will happen based upon the current trends. But if a student wants to come back to school, we will accommodate them based on the current trends. I don't see us being in an unsafe environment.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, Mr. Thompson.
I support 4 days in full at the secondary level. We're sitting here in April and we're making the same marks we're making in October. Our numbers, the numbers from last week that were reported, are they up a little bit? Yes. Are they skyrocketing? No. Okay, you can go back a few more months and you see similar numbers.
They're not close, Mr. Testa.
Week by week, Ms. Carter, we can go look.
I'm looking at them. I have the graph.
Right, so.
I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm saying that the parents have the right to get the numbers.
Of course
That's
they
it.
do.
But when they're not getting it, and I
no-
think they should, there should be transparency with it, because I think that will make a difference in a parent sending their kid full-time or not.
Well,
That was my thing. I'm for it. I want all the kids in
Ms.
school.
Cobbin, I'm not arguing with you. I'm not arguing with you,
I
but
want the doors open. I'm just afraid if we have an overload, I think parents
it's
have
not,
kept their kids home because they didn't want to do hybrid.
it's not, if the parents, first of all, I don't think you're gonna get a flood of kids coming in because we have a transportation issue, which is a legitimate issue, and I understand that, but we're not gonna fix that. We're not gonna fix that. But for those parents that have opted to put their kids into 2 days a week, I think we owe it to them to say you can put your child in 4 days a week. Because we're not helping these kids if we leave them in hybrid for the rest of the year.
I don't disagree.
We're not, I'm not arguing, Madam Chair, I'm not arguing with you. Okay?
Well,
I'm
you
just-
brought up the numbers like I was
And
using it as
and
going
am,
backwards, and I'm not.
if we're
Whoa,
not-
whoa.
Excuse me. No, we're having a discussion, Ms. Bacchus.
Well, it's just getting a little heated, Ms. Cobden.
Well, that's what happens, as you know, it happens. Nothing
So-
wrong is going on
So
here.
we're looking at, right now, we're told we've got 7 staff quarantines, 7, I think, at Pilgrim, or whatever it is. So if we consider 3 to 7 a skyrocket, well, then so be it. But my point, okay? The same reservations I had about Mondays in the elementary are very similar to what I have at the secondary level. It's IP hours, it's PD, and we're not even really gonna pick up that many days because of the testing. So we're really picking up 3 Mondays. So I don't see it. Department nights are critical. My kids all attend department nights. And right now we've got it set up with Monday nights at department night. So we're not gonna tip that on its head for the last, in my opinion, for the last 7, 8 weeks of school. IEP team meetings doesn't even occur to me, that those would already have been scheduled. So And those are important too. Plus, one of the emails said we have CPC kids to concern ourselves with too. So from other districts. So I do support 4 days in full. If there's 500 or 600 kids in Pilgrim, I don't think we're going to suddenly see 900 kids in Pilgrim or 800 kids in Pilgrim. And correct me if I'm wrong, someone from administration, we're just not going to allow parents to just send their kid to school on a Tuesday and then not send them on a Wednesday, and then 3 more parents decide they're going to send their kid on Thursday. That's not how it's worked at all so far. So I wouldn't expect it to be the way it works going forward. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So, taking the existing populations now and saying, well, let's go 4 days a week, I think is critical, because the other thing we need to focus on here, okay, and I'm sure you guys are already working on it, ladies and gentlemen, are already working on it. I am concerned, very concerned about strategies we're going to have in place for next year and how we accelerate these kids, because distance learning is awful. Okay, I went through it, my daughter went through it last year, and we were thrown into it. It was an emergency. Okay, and it stunk. It's better this year, but distance learning has a myriad of problems, not the least of which is at the secondary level, in my opinion. If you have a child that's prone to cheat, distance learning is a gold mine for that child. It's a gold mine for that child, especially if the parents have to work and the child's home. So the more we can get our kids in school 4 days, the better it is for them. So I completely support this. I think we can support it, Mr. McCaffrey. I agree with you. I don't think we're putting the kids in unsafe conditions at all. I don't think we put them in unsafe conditions to this point, and I don't think we'll be doing it going forward. The rise in cases, nationally or whatever, it is what it is. We vaccinated our staff. Most of the cases we have are at the secondary level, but those are the kids that go out. Those are the kids that play sports. Those are the kids, and we have protocols to deal with those situations. But it makes no sense to me to not go forward with this, knowing full well that we have protocols in place to deal with a student positive, a staff positive, a quarantine issue, because we've been dealing with it even in the hybrid model. So I support Mr. McCaffrey's proposal, and that's it. There's nothing else.
I'm just going to add, I did not bring up the statistics, and I'm talking about transparency. When parents are asking for it and asking me why directly we're not getting them to them, and how other districts are wide open to it, and I know some schools do it and other schools don't. I'm not trying to put it off in any way, Mr. Testa. I'm not backtracking, and I'm not saying kids shouldn't be in school, the numbers are up. But there are parents that are concerned about this, and they have the right to know. It's transparency. I'm all for sending the kids back. I just, when parents are, I've gotten 8 parents in the past 3 days asking me this question, and I don't have an answer for them. So I really think that we need to have some transparency with the numbers. It's not for us to make the decision. It's up to the parent to make the decision, and the kid to make the decision.
Agreed.
And I think that they have the right to know. I'm all for the kids going back. I'm just saying there's parents that are asking for some transparency about the numbers, and I think they're owed that.
Madam Chair, I don't disagree with you. I would take issue with your use of your implication that somehow we're not transparent. Where we sat in this very room about 3 weeks ago, and the superintendent said, we're going to, in response to the, where can you find the numbers? I think it was a public comment. And we put a link on our website to where parents can go to find what the current numbers were, and we were linking to the state's numbers. So.
Well, I honestly
if,
think that the parents should be receiving it for the school that their kid's in. It's not put out like that. And somebody called me up, their numbers were way off from what she told me, from what I'm seeing. And Kim does a wonderful job with getting this to us weekly. And I really appreciate her hard work on this, because I know it's probably tedious, but it's necessary. I'm just saying that if parents go to Pilgrim, they want to know what's going on in Pilgrim. They have the right to know. And I'm just saying we owe them that transparency. That's all I'm saying. I'm talking on behalf of my constituents that are getting in touch with me, saying, hey, how come I don't know what's going on in the high school? I want to know how many cases are there. I mean, there are parents that want to know that, and I understand that they want to know that.
And I've been asked the same thing, and those parents that asked me, I direct them to the, I sent them the link to the website where the information is.
Right, but
Here's what it is.
that's general. That's just like getting the total people with
Please, doesn't
quarantine.
break it up by school.
All right, I think, you know, we need to just be
Yeah, we
mindful of the
should-
fact,
let's move on
in
then.
the context of, you know, how should the school schedule go at secondary, we can talk about this, but I just don't want to delve too far into this without it being on the agenda.
I put it in there.
Thank you, Aubrey.
I put it in there. Well, I already consulted. I asked her about this and she said it was okay the way I did it. And if I'm starting to get off, then
Yeah,
I
I
will
think-
take it back. But I just wanted to make that point because we are putting kids back full and parents are asking this. So I think we need to be transparent for those, especially the secondary schools. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
My hand has been up for a while now.
well, I can't see it.
I put it up so you could see it on the thing if you,
I don't have it.
I don't know what Beth,
All right.
let me just say, can I just make a statement? Just, I don't know what is the best way to get the attention of the chair to be called on.
Could you tell her the
All right,
problem?
so Ms. Backus, hang on. Ms. Cobden, why don't you just, you know, say one person and then another person so that we're all set? You
Okay,
know,
there is a problem as the Promethean board that has everybody's faces on it. I cannot see. If I go like this, I can see that there's a little hand up now. I can't see it. There's a glare on the screen. It's been a problem since we've been here. So I apologize, Ms. Bacchus, if I didn't see the hand in the corner, but I can't see it from this angle.
I can see it, so I will pay better attention
I
on
can't
her
see that
behalf.
corner very well.
So, okay, no
So
problem.
Ms. Bacchus,
Perhaps the setup should be changed so that there isn't a glare for anybody. But especially for the chair. But there's been a lot discussed and a lot of back and forth between the chair and Mr. Tester and things said before. But I'm gonna go back maybe even a little bit more because there's been so much kind of talk back and forth. But the chair spoke about the committee approving communications going out to parents and so forth. But the chair is responsible it is the chair's duty to set and approve the agenda for the school committee. And I would proffer that perhaps it would be ultimately the chair's responsibility to also be the point person, if this is the way that you want to go, to be the point person who is primarily responsible also for approving any communications going out from the administration. You know, we can't all do it. We never all agree on everything. And if you all want some say and just to make sure that what's going out is, you know, sufficient or okay or addresses the needs, then I think that's great. And I think we would all be in with that. And you know, we need to be made aware. We certainly want to be aware of what's going on, but I don't think we all have to collaborate on what's going out or what's in the meeting. We don't. We just put in what we would like on the docket of the meeting. So, thank you for your time.
Madam Chair?
yes, Mr. Cornell.
Yeah, so I'm also in favor of the chair approving district announcements from now on, so we can avoid this confusion, because this is not the first time this has come up, and I think all of us just we don't want this situation to happen again. So I'm in favor of that, and I think it'd be good if also the chair just when she approves something, she just sends it to the rest of the school committee, so just we're all aware of the situation. And the second thing, I also agree with Ms. Cobden on that, like, we should be transparent in regards to the COVID data. So there's no harm in letting people know about that. So we can maybe even put that under district announcements. I think that could be a good thing, so people just know what's going on. So now I have a question for Mr. McCaffrey. So just so the community knows, so the transportation situation will be the same for the secondary, correct? Like it still will be like, what's the situation with the busing?
Currently, we don't have any buses. We have RIPTA passes that are available to students to go to and from the secondary schools. We do have
Okay,
special education transportation for students where it's written into their IEP for transportation.
Okay, yeah, so it will just be pretty much the same with, like, more students can go to school, but they'll have to find their own transportation?
It'd be like the current situation it is now, yes.
Okay, good, yeah. Thank you for letting us know that, because I think that's important for the community to know. Also, so if you have a situation in schools when, for example, a classroom like you have, is like unproportionately has a lot more students than another classroom. For example, 26 students going to one in person in one class, would you have to require like another classroom to house those students?
If we go over the certain number established by the guidance, we would move students to another location, yes. And we would
Okay.
adjust accordingly. Every period, we know how many available classrooms we have in the event we need space. So we're cognizant of what every period looks like and how many rooms are available every period if we need additional space for whatever reason, whether regardless of COVID or not.
Okay, thank you very much for that information. And I am in favor of this proposal. It's reasonable and it's doable, unlike the other proposal for 4.5 days that wasn't doable. Although it would be great to have 5 days in person. It just, we can't do that right now, but this we can do. So and I think, and I know the community really wants the students to be more in person. So I think I'll be voting in favor of this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cornell.
Madam Chair.
I wanted to respond. Point of order. Point of order.
Floor is yours.
Point of order. The chair, Mr. Cornell, the chair cannot send anything to the committee because it could be considered a rolling quorum. So please understand that anything like that needs to go to Ms. Bonang or for it to be sent. I don't want the public getting upset and trying to file something with us that's not happening.
Well, that's how it always goes. It goes to Ms. Bowman.
Well,
Okay,
I just
that's
want to
fine.
record.
And I only
other thing is-
suggested for everybody because I'm trying to be transparent with all of you and all of you should have a say, but I can do it if that's what everybody wants.
And, again, just, this is a little off topic from the school schedule. So, and I understand that it got put out there, but I think we should try to stay on the school schedule.
But the other thing I want to say was, insofar as RIPTA, we got emails from a couple of parents talking down RIPTA about they didn't want their kids on RIPTA and they wanted their children on buses just like everybody else is. But the fact is that many school systems use RIPTA in whole or in part, Pawtucket, Providence, to get their kids back in Florida. And so they do whatever they can do to help those kids get in. And I think we should be doing the same. And if a student feels comfortable taking public busing and we have the ability to give that to them, then I think that we should. Thank you.
Mr. Adams?
Ms. Bacchus, I apologize. I was not trying to violate the point of order. Your
Thank
hand's
you.
still up, so I thought it was from the previous one.
No, let me take it down.
My question, in terms of transportation, and then I also know that Mr. Baxter and I spoke at length at this, and I'm sure he probably has more probably has comments to share with transportation as well. But Mr. McCaffrey, in terms of the transportation staying as it is now, you said it's for like mainly for IEP students that have transportation in their IEPs. Is that going to be an issue for those who are going from hybrid to full day? Like, are we going to be able to still transport them with the amount of busing that we have? But I guess it's towards Ms. Dr. Conley.
Dr. Conley, I think, has your answer.
Yes, for the most part, the students at the secondary level that get transportation in their IEP are students that attend our intensive special ed classrooms, and they're already going 4 days a week. I would say the majority of them would fit that category.
Okay, so we shouldn't have we shouldn't considering our situation, going full day shouldn't impact our transportation.
No, I don't anticipate it would be a drastic impact. No.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anything else? I do have one question, like, what if a parent, like, the hybrid's working, the parents
You do
want.
school committee. I'll make mac and cheese.
It's Jen Conley. Jen Conley, just mute yourself, please.
I just muted her.
Mr. McCaffrey, what happens if there's parents that are comfortable with their kids just in hybrid and they want to continue the hybrid? Is that left open or is that done?
That's left open.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. I think that's good. I'm happy to hear that. Anything else? I have a motion to support.
Move approval of secondary school spring schedule as presented by Mr. McCaffrey.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 The ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. McCaffrey. On to the next discussion, action, return of wealth, half-day programs, classrooms, 4 days a week. Ms. Amber and Ms. Martin.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the school committee, we have Julie Martin with us here tonight, who is the administrator at Welk Preschool, and she would like to bring additional students to a half-day program, and she wanted to explain it to you tonight. So Julie?
Sure. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the school committee, Dr. Thornton and Ms. Stanbrook. Thank you for having me here tonight. At Welk, we have all of our students back to in-person learning on some level, with the exception about 15 to 18 students who have decided to, whose families have decided to have them continue with full DL. What we're proposing tonight is that our half-day integrated classrooms who are currently attending a hybrid model, either Tuesday, Thursday, or Wednesday, Friday, return to a 4-day half-day model, Tuesday through Friday. So our younger students would come in the morning, Tuesday through Friday, for 2.5 hours, and our older students in the integrated classrooms would return Tuesday through Friday for a 2.5-hour program. There's really we would still be able to accommodate those students who wish to remain DL. I've already checked with transportation, so it's our students who are getting transportation would still be able to get transportation. Again, the only students in our building who are eligible for transportation are ones with transportation written into their IEPs. And it's pretty simple. Instead of them coming 2 days, they'd be coming 4 days. So I'm happy to take any questions. We've surveyed our parents, and most are very excited at the possibility of having this happen. And I can tell you that our staff and faculty are equally as excited with the prospect of bringing children back 4 days. Preschool is all about hands-on play, interaction with other children, and it's really hard to replicate that through a distance learning option. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions?
Madam Chair?
Yes. Mr.
So I think this is a good thing because like preschoolers, like they need interaction with each other more than many other grades, because like this is the time when they start communicating socially with other children. So that's important. And we already have 40 in person for elementary and secondary, so it would make no sense that we wouldn't approve this. So I'm in favor of this.
Okay.
And I should add, our timeline would be that students would return to this 4-day instruction the Tuesday after vacation.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I move the question.
Yes, Ms. Marcus.
I second it.
Thank
All
you,
in
Mr.
favor?
Testa.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it.
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. Discussion action, building committee bond awards. Mr. Ferrucci and Mr. Goffberg.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Apparently my video has been stopped by the host, so I'm here. Building committee has listened to recommendations on 4 roof bids. We have them before you this evening. there we go. Details of which have been explained in your packets. If there's any specific questions about the technical aspects of the roofs that we're doing, I would defer to Mr. Gothberg. But we're seeking your approval for the 4 various bids that have been recommended for award.
Madam Chair, are we gonna take these all just as one, right? This is one motion,
Yeah,
right?
I think we can do it all in a bunch. I mean,
Yeah.
this is something that we've already been discussing.
Yeah,
so.
I would move approval. Just want to have a couple of questions for Mr. Ferrucci once it's seconded for discussion.
Second.
Thank you.
Discussion?
Mr. Ferrucci, are you there?
I
there you
sure am.
yeah, I do want to point out that just the edification of public, most of these roof bids came in over budget, correct? Right?
They came in under budget,
Under budget.
They came in under, I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. They came in under budget.
substantially under budget.
Right. And this is, it's a testament to the way we're going about this. With the timing of our bids and whatnot. But Mr. Ferrucci, I want to ask you a question because you mentioned it this morning at the building committee meeting. Dr. De Silva, Joe De Silva at RIDE, who's like the grand poobah of all these school construction things.
That's correct.
I just want you to share with my colleagues what he said about Warwick and how they, and what we're doing with capital improvements.
When I had a conversation with Mr. De Silva about the phase 3 projects that we're undertaking for the high schools, he wanted to compliment Warwick Public Schools as one of the only school districts in the state that are taking on the volume of projects that we're taking on an annual basis. Most school districts have a building under construction, or a roof or two under construction, or a HVAC system under construction. Warwick has got multiple, somewhere in the neighborhood, anywhere between 17 to 25 specific projects affecting between 7 to 10 buildings, almost half of our buildings every single summer for the last 2 years. And we're projected to do that every single summer for the next 3 years. And he just wanted to compliment us on executing those projects at the volume and pace. There's no other school district in the state of Rhode Island that's doing the kind of work that we're currently undertaking.
Thank you. I mean, that's a compliment, and it's also, it's a bit of an indictment about how much work needed to be done to these buildings because it wasn't done for so long. I just wanted to share that, that's all. So thank you, Mr. Pucci.
Madam
It
Chair,
continues to be needed.
Madam Chair, if I might just continue on one point that Mr. Testa raised.
Yes.
It's about the budget. As the bid tabs reflect, we're showing coming in under budget in the neighborhood of $100,000 to $200,000 for these various roof projects. We're very excited about it. It had to do with the way we went about getting out early in our bidding processes and our designing in the fall and bidding by Christmas in January so that we get the first one to the trough. But what I want to let the community know, and I want this committee to know, that our intent is to maintain the dollars at the schools and maintain these surpluses as best we can so that we're minimizing any change orders going forward. When we've completed all the projects, we will be back before the school committee with recommendations as to what additional further investments may be needed in our schools, and these would be sources of funds. So we will not be moving forward with any projects that are not already currently rostered that the community has approved through their bond referendum until we come back before you with a roster of here's what's remaining and here's some priority projects that we've discussed and we would be searching out from administration. So we will keep you apprised as we start getting close to the end. It's funny, phase 1, $40 million, we are into summer 3. So that means we're past the halfway mark on that first $40 million worth of project. So within another year, we'll be coming to the tail end of that. And so we'll be able to come back to you with, we can relieve that debt completely. So those points will be coming forward in the future with you folks.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Cornell.
Yeah, so on a personal note, I'm really glad that these projects are happening. It really makes work schools look good, because I remember when I was like when the steps were falling apart. So, and then also when I was at Cedar Hill, it was so hot in the building. I remember for a wax museum project, a bunch of students were just passing out all around me. So like it's good we're getting like AC and just rebuilding our schools, because that's what people look for when they want to go into the school system. They like good facilities. So I think this is great that this is happening, and I think this is going to make a big difference. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Mr. Ferrucci.
Do I have, we have the motion. So all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Ferrucci.
Thank you, Mr. Goffberg, too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, future meetings. We have a monthly school committee meeting on Tuesday, April 16th. We have the special school committee budget meeting on the 14th and the special committee budget meeting on the 20th. I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Everybody have a great night. The rest of the week.